Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I'm really excited to have you here for another video. Now, before we move on to today's content, there's a few housekeeping items that we need to go over, so let's take a look at what some of those are. I have been getting messages from people all over the world about different opportunities. While I'm very excited to get your message about the opportunity, the best way you can get in contact with me is by clicking the link in the description. In the description below, you'll find a link for an opportunity discussion where you can book time on my calendar. When you click that link, it'll take you directly to my calendar. You'll have the most up-to-date information. You'll be able to put in your name, email, preferred method of contact, and a little short summary about what opportunity you have. After confirming and submitting, you'll receive a calendar invite where you and I can both talk. And during this time, you can go ahead and tell me all about your opportunity, and hopefully it's a good fit. So make sure you click the link in the description, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. With all the housekeeping items out of the way, let's get into today's content. Before we jump into today's content, this video is actually going to be broken up into two parts, and we're going to make it easily digestible. So in today's part, you're going to learn all about the operating system from the GUI perspective. There's going to be a couple buttons that you're going to press in order to navigate the operating system. And the second video is going to be all about the command line. And we're going to use the command line in order to interact with the operating system, and that's going to be in a later video. So make sure you stay tuned for when we post that video. One other thing I forgot to mention, in the description is a link, and the link is for a quiz. And the quiz is going to test your knowledge on all the information you learned in order to make sure you're learning and retaining the knowledge. Let me know how well you did. Leave me a comment with your score. Also as well, if you have any additional questions, make sure you leave me a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Now, with all the housekeeping items out of the way, let's jump into today's content. Welcome to the Red Hat Enterprise Linux sign-in screen. And here you can see my name, Luis Acosta. That's the username that we're going to use. And by now, you should have everything that you need to get you to this point. If you don't have Red Hat Enterprise Linux installed in a virtual machine, if you're on Windows, I'm going to put a link in the description so that way you can follow the video to get you to this point. It'll teach you how to install VirtualBox, also grab the ISO for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and create a virtual machine using that ISO. If you are on Mac, I am also going to put a link in the description for another video that will walk you through the same exact thing. You're going to download VirtualBox, you're going to download the ISO of RHEL, and you're going to create a virtualized machine to get you up until this point where you can log in and be able to work with the operating system. For those that are already here, let's go ahead and sign in and take a look around the operating system. So I'm going to log into my username, which is Luis Acosta. Here we have the desktop, and as you can see, there's not much going on here, so it's a nice clean desktop. We're going to work with the operating system in two ways. Now, the first way is going to be what we call a GUI, or the graphical user interface. And this is where I'm going to walk you around the operating system, and we're going to take a look at all the little buttons that we can press. Now, the second way, which is the more powerful and typically the most used case, is going to be the terminal. And I'm going to show you a little bit about the terminal a little bit later. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is work with the GUI, and we're going to go over a couple of items. The first item on the list is what's called the dock. So you might be asking, well, what is the dock? Well, if we go ahead and click on activities, on the left-hand side here is what we call the dock. And the dock gives you access to most commonly used programs. So as you can see here, I have Firefox, Files Explorer, Terminal. Not only does the dock give you the ability to see recently used apps, but also it allows you to take a look at all the apps that are installed on the machine. And we do so by clicking the grid. And it says here, Show Applications. And once you click on Show Applications, you have the ability to see all the applications that are installed on this particular machine. Another thing that you can do besides look at the dock under Activities is to search for something. Later on in the discussion, we're going to create some keyboard shortcuts. Let's use that as an example. What if I'm trying to edit keyboard shortcuts and I don't know where to find it? Well, you can use the search bar up here, type in keyboard, and you can see that the search function finds the keyboard shortcut settings for you. And we can go ahead and quickly launch that to be able to make adjustments. So that's a really cool example of how you can use a search feature. Next item on the list when it comes to using the GUI and working with the operating system is taking a look at your notification and time. So on the top of the screen here, you're going to see the actual date and time. And if we click that, you can actually see a calendar to the right. So anytime you have notifications on the operating system, something that needs your attention, you'll find it here in the notifications tab. Let's turn our attention to the next item on the list, and that's looking at the important elements that you'll see on the top right hand corner of your screen. So if I go ahead and click that, you can see here that I have many different options. I can control the volume, which is really cool, right? It's a nice little slider there. I can see that I'm connected to the internet using a wired connection. Now keep in mind, it says wired even though you may be wireless, but that's because your computer is running in a virtualized environment and it thinks that it's connected with a hardwired connection, even though your host operating system, which can be Windows or it can be Mac, is actually connected via wireless. So just keep that in mind. If we click on where it says wired connected, we see options here for turning off or changing the wired setting. Next item for your settings is fully charged. And once we clicked on fully charged, you'll see here power settings. And in power settings, you can make adjustments related to power. Now under power settings, you can see here that we have our username that we're logged into, and of course it's Luis Acosta. So if we click on that, you can see here that you can change account settings or you can log this user out. It's another way of logging out of the account for the next person to be able to use the computer. Now under all those settings, we have 3 buttons here that we can press. All the way to the right, we have the power button. And if we click that guy, you can see here that we have the ability to either restart the machine or we have the ability to power off the machine. So let's go ahead and click cancel for now. And let's head back into the menu again to see what other elements we can control. And as we see here, the button in the middle is a lock. And once we click it, as you saw, it locked our screen and it brings us back into signing in again. So let's go ahead and sign in. Now that we're logged back into the desktop, you may have had a question and you said, okay, well, if I go into the menu and I see my name here and I click log out, how is that different from the lock that we see here in the middle button? And logging out of the machine kills all processes that you have running and it completely logs you out, as opposed to when you lock the screen, your processes and your work is still going on in the background. It's just the screen is locked and you can log back in and continue working where you left off, as opposed to logging out. You kill everything and you have to start from scratch again. So keep that in mind as the differences. And all the way to the left is what we call the settings button. And if we click that, it brings up all the settings for this particular machine and we can adjust any settings in this window here. So let's go ahead and close out of that. Now the last thing I'm going to show you, and something that's really cool, especially working with a GUI, is what's called workspaces. And so what are workspaces? Workspaces allows you to use multiple desktops in order to keep your work environment nice and tidy. So what do I mean by that? Let's go ahead and click on activities and let's go and open up Firefox. Now here we have Firefox open on our screen, and this is considered to be workspace number 1, meaning this desktop has my internet browser of choice up and running and I'm browsing the internet. Let's say it's Red Hat as we see here. Now the question becomes, if I have Firefox up on the screen, what if I want to browse for a particular file using the Files Explorer app and I don't want to get my desktop cluttered? What do I mean by that? So let's go under activities and let's open up the Files Explorer app. And as you see here, I'm going back and forth between my browser and also as well the Files Explorer app. And this is where workspaces come into play. What we can do is we can leave our browser up and running in workspace 1. We click on activities and to the right, we see our workspaces. As you can see here, this is our workspace number 1 and it has Firefox up and running, but I can use workspace number 2 and we can go ahead and click on that to open up another workspace, open up the Files Explorer app, and I can continue browsing for the files that I need, all in a different workspace, and it doesn't clutter up the environment. And the cool thing is I can go ahead and click on activities and I can go back to workspace number 1 and continue working browsing the internet should I need to, or I can go back to workspace number 2 and I can continue browsing for files, or I can go to workspace number 3 now and open up a whole new environment where I can start working on something else. How awesome is that? An easy and clean way to make sure that my work environment does not get cluttered with all the many things that we typically do in a desktop environment. So there you have it, folks. You just learned all about how to navigate the operating system, specifically Red Hat Enterprise Linux, using the GUI. There's a lot of little buttons and different things all over the place, so make sure, in order to retain the knowledge and test your knowledge, take that quiz. Link is in the description. And as mentioned before, let me know how well you did. Leave me a comment. Let me know if there's anything additional that you need help with, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.